Hey, this is Glendon with Making Money with Storage Unit Auctions. This is a different kind of video. One of the questions that I always get is, did you ever have a mentor? And I've kind of like, sure, yeah, I've had this mentor, that mentor, but I didn't tell you exactly how I did my process of gaining mentors. I'll tell you about, not the first one, because I think throughout life you have people who mentor you, but you don't really look at it that way because there may be a friend or a family friend or an older person, but there's that incidental mentorship, and then there's that direct mentorship, and this is a story of direct mentorship. I sold, and I think I've mentioned him in the videos a few times. The story, let's call this the story of Andy. Andy was balls to the walls type entrepreneur, and whenever he did business deals, he usually came with a hammer because he was going to crack your nuts. I met him, and I got to him through a cold call. I had to call this guy, no lie, 25 freaking times. I should go back a little bit, and this is from my commercial furniture office days. I saw, this is how we operated on, getting deals back in the day. Essentially, I hooked up with some real estate guys, commercial real estate brokers, because commercial real estate brokers, for them to be effective, they needed to know sometimes months, when I say months, 9, 10, to years in advance when a large company was going to relocate or rent new space. The sooner you knew, the better off you had a chance of getting that deal. So they were the alpha dogs in the commercial furniture business, the IT business, in terms of sourcing them for leads because they had real juicy information. And I was at lunch with one of my friends who just let it slip that this was happening. I didn't say anything because some of them, they're very hard to get information out of because they knew they were the shit. They knew. So I mentally filed that down, and when I got to my car, wrote it down, went back to the office, looked up the guy, and saw he had a substantial operation. That night, I got on the phone and started calling him. It was like 7 o'clock at night, and someone answered and hung up, which was probably him because he was probably still in the office. Well, after those 25 phone calls, one morning, and this is tip, I put this in, cold calling. I woke up about 5, went to the gym. It was one of those nights I couldn't sleep. And this is something else as a salesperson. You always have your sales information on you. There's no such thing as separation between your office, because a lot of times I didn't even go to the office. I work from home a lot because all I needed was my information, product catalogs, phone numbers, etc., etc. Well, I just went upstairs because I worked out in the basement. I went upstairs and just looked at my list because everyone that I was having a really hard time contacting, I put on a hot list. And I wouldn't just call them between 9 and 5 because it wasn't going to work. All the gatekeepers were there. It just wasn't going to work. Well, it was about 5:58, and I looked and I was like, Andy. And this was the 25th phone call. And I was like, do. And I called, and he answered the phone, and he said, hello. I was like, you need to see me. You're moving, and I'm going to sell you some office furniture. And he said, it's you. I was like, I feel charmed and privileged that you even know me. Well, anyway, I know you're busy. Let's set up a time, and just went straight into setting up the appointment. Do not try to sell a person like this over the phone that early in the morning. Get the appointment, then you do your selling because you want to do the stuff in person. And he just started laughing. He said, okay, we'll meet. And then he was honest. Andy was straight shooter. He says, I've talked to 4 other guys already. And at that point, I had this sinking feeling. It was just like, oh, fuck. Because typically, when someone's talked to that many salespeople, they've already made a decision. But I was like, you know what? I wore him down. I got the appointment. You got to go in there with your A game. So I go in there, and he had a very esoteric business. And it was really cool, and I did a little research about it. So I go in there, and I'm looking at the office, right? And everything is old, everything's antiquated. And I'm just looking at it. Now, all the salespeople had super nice sports cars, Lexus, BMW, Porsche. I mean, the salespeople were making money. He even told me, he said, the average salesperson in his company made $200,000, and the ones that were killing it made, $500,000. I was like, wow, It was funny This was one of the first times in my life that when someone gave me some information, the first thing in my head didn't pop up that I should jump on here because I was kind of close to that money anyway doing it once. So it was like, oh, that's real nice. And he looked at it, he said, you're the first furniture guy that eyes didn't buck when I said that. Because, during the process of selling commercial furniture, you want to get as much financial data about the customer because you're going to hit them over the head with some pretty big numbers. You don't want to be wasting your time. And I told him straight up, I said, last year I made 185, I was running a little short. He said, okay. And I think, honestly, that sealed the deal. One, I was a hard worker. Two, I persistently dogged his ass. Three, I was making money. Here was a guy that knew what it took for a salesperson to make money. So we went through the whole process. I took him to the new stuff. He didn't want new stuff. Ended up selling him 25 offices of used furniture that had to be refinished, but it was a great deal. He saved money. I made money. We actually became friends. Now, what I didn't tell you originally about those stories was after the sales deal, I called him up, say, hey, how's everything? You happy? You great? And he's like, you're trying to sell me some more money? Some more furniture? I was like, no, I'm trying to sell you me. I feel that you have information that can benefit me, and I want to take you to lunch and we can discuss it. So at that point, I asked him to become my mentor, and he said, okay, and he did. And he imparted a lot of business information from his perspective to me. And he's one of the people that's very, very responsible for a lot of my success because he taught me how to look at things differently. It was just amazing the information I got. And understand, we didn't hang out every week. Usually met once, twice a month, either for breakfast or lunch, and about an hour. But when I went to those meetings, I had a lot of questions. And he was, like I said, a no bullshit to guy. And I was like, okay, we sit down, we're eating. And I'm like, bam, 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 bam. This happened this week. How would you respond? And he's like, well, if that was me, I would do this. I would do X, Y. I would do this. And I would do. And my sales, after meeting Andy and after asking him to mentor me, I doubled my sales the next year because I was good because of my hustle. I made more phone calls than anyone else. I dogged people more than anyone else, but my closing sucked. I would get them, I would find them, I would get them, and I would lose them and let them get off the line. And he taught me techniques how to lock them down. And I'm internally grateful for that. Now, he's no longer with us. He was an older guy and very, very nice man. Very, very nice man. Great family, lovely wife. But that's what you have to do to be successful. One of the things that I've noticed, especially about myself and other people, there's a tendency to think that we can build the world by ourselves. You can't. You can't do it. You can't do it. You have to reach out. You have to talk to people. You have to know your weaknesses, admit their weaknesses, and then say, hey, I need help. Just like that. No bullshit, no chase. Just like, hey, if you can find your way to possibly hit. No. Straight up, I want you to do X, Y, and Z. And with many of you in this business, because one of the reasons I'm doing this video now, and I've been waiting for this time, because I had a conversation with someone early on that this was going to happen. The event is happening now. We thought it was going to happen sooner. I knew that America's fascination with storage auctions was not going to last forever in terms of actually going, buying, and moving that stuff. It's a lot of freaking work. And what I've been saying for these last 3 years, people don't want to work that hard. That's one of the reasons, and I'm not going to say the book's a bad book, but the 4-hour work week is essentially, you're building online businesses, something that you can scale up and manage from your laptop. You can't do every business in the world like that. The internet can improve every business. The internet can bring more sales, but there's still businesses that someone's got to be behind the counter, someone's got to talk to a customer, and someone's got to deliver some stuff. That's not going away until we get to the point where we have teleporters and you can go to your dashboard in your house and say, hey, I want this sofa, and it comes in instantly. We're not there yet. So until we get there, the possibilities and the potentials are endless because that's not happening. Maybe it might happen in a lifetime. And I'm not going to say that because the technology is really moving pretty quick. But the deal is you need help. And if you don't know anyone, I'm going to suggest the first book. I've mentioned it before, but I'm going to do more videos like this. And the first one is The Power of Your Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph E. Murray. I read that book about 15 times, and essentially, what you think about all the time is what you become. So if you think you're a loser, you think you're a turkey, you think you're a sucker, that's who you will be. And the worst part about that is, so will others, because that's the energy you give off. When I was in the commercial office furniture business, there was 5 or 6 of us in town that were selling at a certain level. There was only a few, and it's a very esoteric, very clubby niche type business because you don't know what the other guys are doing. But there was 5 suntan Supermans selling commercial office furniture. It's a very, very hard business, and based on the fact that office space is running rampant, I can only imagine how hard it is now. I haven't done that business since 2000. Don't know, but I do know it's 2012 and people still need mentorship. So go to Amazon, pick up the book. You can get it for little or nothing, and when you get the book, read the book. There's a habit of a lot of people buying books and not reading them. That's a waste of your time and a waste of your money. That's all I'm saying. All right, this is Glendon. We're making money with storage unit auctions.